Today I'm joined by Louise Ginn, a mum of 4, a teacher and a passionate adventurer who turned her faith into action. From supporting vulnerable girls in Vanuatu to travelling across Australia and raising over $100,000 for suicide prevention, Louise's story tells us what incredible things can happen when you're willing to listen to God's word. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
This podcast and to share your story. It's a very incredible story and I loved hearing it from you and I wanted to share it with others as well. So can we go back to your time here at Avondale, or maybe just before you came to Avondale? What were the influences or what was the choices that were happening that made you come to Avondale?
We actually grew up Catholic. When I was about 13, my mum became an Adventist, and then 12 months later I was baptised. Then we started doing pathfinders, big camps, and, that was a really special time, like in the sense of we'd never had done those type of things before, socially connected. Like, we went to Mass every Sunday, but we didn't have those extra community things to do. So I really thrived on that. Loved pathfinders as a very active person. Got into the hiking and, all other things from rock climbing, caving, just opened up so many more opportunities that I'd never had before. And then...
so very adventurous.
Very adventurous.
Yeah,
But that just added, a whole new level. So I love that. And then within Pathfinders, there was lots of service opportunities that I just remember really enjoying. And then coming to big camps, they were such a highlight. Enjoying the programs, to just connecting. So I took a gap year when I finished my year 12 and I worked in a childcare centre, and I knew that I always wanted to do something with kids. Working in that centre, it was more like a babysitting. I sort of felt like I needed a bit more. So visited the Avondale tent. I still remember exactly where it was there at the big camp on the grounds. And there was some, young people just sharing about what Avondale was all about, and what they offered back then was, teaching, ministry and nursing. So I guess for me, teaching it was.
How was your time here at Avondale?
Look, honestly, I look back, was one of the highlights of my life. Those 3 years were just so much fun, so much. I guess that's when I really experienced, my own freedom as well. As I said, growing up in a big home, you were always responsible for somebody else. Always shared a bedroom. I came here to Avondale. First year I shared, but my second year, Ella Boyd had opened up and I got my own room. And I don't know, I just really felt that was my years of flourishing. I sort of came out of myself.
Yeah, and that independence, I guess, not being surrounded by your siblings.
Yes.
Yeah. What was dorm life like? What was your friend groups like? What did you get up to in your spare time?
Lots of sport. Signed up for all the activities from ABARC. I don't think they call it that anymore. It's a camping club.
Camping club, okay.
And I was in indoor cricket to a bit of touch footy, whatever was going, tennis and lots of camping. And then dorm life, we were up half the night.
That's where good relationships are built.
Last minute assignments,
Yep.
all-nighters, all of that fun experience. And it was just a fabulous time. I made so many friends, really. And still, we connect with each other at different points, particularly big camp, obviously, is the space.
Absolutely. Was, back in your time, during your time here at Avondale, was there those service mission trips as well, like they have?
There was today. All of that. They offered all those opportunities, and I remember the first time I heard about it, I was like, I definitely want to do that.
Yeah.
So I was looking at whether I'd take a gap year or wait to the end, but met my husband here, Paul.
Yes.
And we got married when I graduated in 92, and literally a week later we were on a plane heading to South Korea to become student missionaries.
So the calling was in both of you is very strong.
Well, I'm not sure if it was really strong in Paul, but, I was very passionate, and he was a good husband and thought, he would come and make that happen as well. So, but we both enjoyed our time, but we wouldn't recommend as newly married couples to do it. Right. It was very stressful as well at the same time. It was, it certainly brought us together in a whole new culture that we only just had each other. So,
what did that teach you about service and about mission?
Look, it was very much, as I said, we stepped into a place that I'd never travelled before. A whole new culture, and the idea of accepting something different, and not having to, I guess it's not projecting your values or your beliefs on somebody, because you step into someone else's culture, you have to take those on. You have to be understanding towards that and work within those boundaries. So I guess it taught me to be more open to other people's ideas and thoughts, and that things are done differently, and that's okay.
When you came back to Australia, did you go back into teaching, or what was your next step that you took?
Look, as a couple, we always chose that when we had children that I would stay at home. I was offered a full-time job back at Central Coast Adventist School, and I reasoned in my mind that we could do this. So I took on that job. Never had real peace. It was a really hard time. I had to make a choice. Was I going to continue the teaching? Because when I start something, I like to see it through. But with lots of prayer, got to a point where I felt that, I needed to resign. When I walked out of that office, I had the biggest weight had left me. I knew that my calling at that time was to be a mum, to stay at home with my boys.
Obviously had a heart for service from when you're being very young and during your time at Avondale. How was that then shared with your family and your boys when you're at home with them? How were you able to show them their purpose and their value and service?
I suppose for myself, I've always had that service as something I guess God put in my heart right from day dot, and I wanted, because we had 2 more boys, so we have 4 sons. Definitely
busy at home again.
Needed to be at home for more years, and God prepared me for that. And I was, loving being at home with my sons. I would never regret, those years. But I always kind of wanted them to realise just how lucky they had it, and that there's so many other kids out there that just don't have what they have. So my neighbour, Jenny across the road, she has 3 sons, and our boys grew up together playing cricket across the road, and we just connected. And she was a bit the same as me. She had that whole service mentality and wanted her boys to understand that. So she had a project in Vanuatu, a branch Sabbath school that they would visit regularly and take the whole family, and the boys are involved in that. And I just was like, wow, that is amazing. And so we talked about it, and I said, I'd love to find a project similar. So she had tucked that in the back of her mind. And then one evening back in 2011 is when a knock at the front door, and there was standing this beautiful lady from Vanuatu. I've never been to Vanuatu, so an island lady, and Doralyn. She introduced me to her. It was actually her husband Andrew who brought her over, because Jenny was away at the time. And we met, and on that evening, she just shared her story, literally on the doorstep. Kind of straight away, we got straight into the story. I didn't even invite her in. And
just need to get straight to the story.
She just got straight to the story and shared this need, this passion that was on her heart that she had seen over the last number of years increase over in Vanuatu. And that's in regards to abandoned babies, and how younger and younger these girls were falling pregnant. And feeling they had no other option but to abandon their babies. And these babies were found, dead in the bush in all sorts of spaces. And then she continued to share that these young mums ended up in prison as a result of this. And she was going to the prisons counselling these young women. And so for her, she had such a heavy burden that she wanted to do something. And when she shared that, for me, I just, as a young mum,
absolutely,
4 sons,
you can relate.
And I thought, how can any young mum feel that she has no other option but to abandon? That just didn't compute. And not understanding the culture, really what took place over there. But that was, where it really kind of hit my heart. And I thought, I have to do something. So we just prayed together that evening and just said, let's see where God takes us.
Amazing.
It's really... And I walked inside, and I wondered what had happened. But I felt so convicted. And the next thing God put in my mind was, you need money.
Yes, absolutely.
Because nothing can happen without money.
Yeah.
So
that kind of calling that God kind of placed in your heart was that moment where you knew that you could do something, and that it wasn't beyond you. You were willing to go and do something. Was that?
Well, really, that's what it was. I just sort of said, let's see where God takes us. So it wasn't about me. It was about, me, I guess, willing, hey, God, if you want me involved in this, I'm willing. What that looks like, I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah. So where did that willingness take you? What did come from this incredible story?
Yeah, so as I said, I just started fundraising, and somehow I convinced Avondale Memorial Church about this idea that I knew nothing about, and they came on board and also helped with fundraising and supporting, from just cake stores to Tough Mudders to starting my own cake business with Sherry Hadding. I believe she's here at Avondale still lecturing. Yeah, we started a cupcake business called Yaya Sisters, and so all sorts of just different things. We had a goal of 20,000. We reached that, and then I thought that took a long time to get just 20,000.
Absolutely.
So I felt like I needed something different, unique, to raise
funds.
Yeah,
and at the same time, you're still showing all your boys that you're doing something for a greater, for a purpose, for someone else in a country that you've never met as well.
Yeah, exactly. And alongside that, started doing research, Jenny and myself, in what is this issue over here, and a number of different things happened, led us to connect with ADRA, and they looked at doing a needs analysis, realised there was a great need over there.
Fantastic, yeah.
And then they partnered with us in 2014, and that's when the Blossom Project was born.
That's it, an incredible project that's still running to this day, which is incredible. You had a conversation with me about wanting to do more than just fundraise. You wanted to make a lot more money, and you wanted to find a way to do that and make more of an impact statement. Where did the idea of riding, especially with your son, come into this and fundraise?
So for me, I just thought this idea would be really cool to do something with the whole family. And bike riding was just another one of the sports that we did as a family. We all had bikes, just standard bikes, and we just ride together. Yeah. Kind of anywhere, Chitaway Bay, different pathways we'd find. And that was just something we did together as a family. So I thought it'd be kind of cool if we could get 3 tandem bikes and the 6 of us ride somewhere. Look, Matthew was quite young at the time, so it was pretty crazy. I did suggest this idea to Paul, and he was just like,
no. No, thank you.
No, thank you. And look, in reality, it wouldn't have been possible with the age of the younger two, particularly. So,
but Nathaniel, your eldest, was quite keen, wasn't he?
He's my second.
Sorry, second.
So there was one day that we were together.
Yes.
Just in the car, and Nathaniel said to me, "Hey, Mum, you know that idea that you had about the tandems?" He said, "I really like it.
Oh.
Why don't we just do it?" And I was like, great idea.
And he was how old at the time?
So at the time he was about 13.
13, wow.
So he's
what a special kid.
Sense of adventure, a bit like his mum, and he saw that idea of what a great idea. So I said, okay, we've got to plan this together first. We've got to get all the logistics together. Then we'll come and chat to your dad about it and see that we've actually made some plannings. So we did all that and presented it to Paul. And
so what was the idea? What was the ride? So it's a tandem bike ride to, where were you going to ride to?
So we thought we need to ride somewhere significant and a big amount. So we come up with the idea that we'd ride it 1,000 kilometres over 10 days.
Wow.
And finish the top of Mount Kosciuszko.
Right.
Top of Australia. We thought that could be something unique.
And what was the goal of fundraising at the time?
Well, we kind of played a bit on, numbers.
Yes, okay.
10 days, 1,000 kilometres, $100,000.
Okay.
Which is a huge amount.
Absolutely.
Considering we'd only, raised, what is it, $20,000.
Yeah,
but
which
we
is
thought,
significant.
let's put it out there. Let's just, you can dream big and whatever we get sort of thing. So.
Absolutely. And so then that kind of, I guess, started the journey of riding and fundraising for you? Is that
absolutely.
Kind of what happened?
Because, often I would think I didn't really have a lot to offer God. What is it that I can do to make a difference? And I think I realised whatever I had in my hand, and that was, I had a bike.
Yeah.
I had ability to be, I had good fitness. I was always active.
Yeah.
I thought, well, maybe I just combine that and give it to God and see what he can do with it.
Yeah.
And so, and
which is pretty incredible, because then that kind of led into another bike ride. Was that correct? So more and more events and bike rides came from this?
Yeah, so after our first one, which was in 2015, so we did achieve that. We raised $50,000.
Wow.
And pretty much, I reckon it was day 2 of that ride, God was already telling me that I couldn't stop. This would not be the last ride. And then I partnered with Tanya Lawrence,
Yes.
who is the founder of Restore One in
One,
Cambodia. And her husband, Tim, is a keen bike rider and loves to create routes. So I thought, here's a great opportunity. I rang Tanya and said, would you be keen to partner with me?
Wow.
And straight away she said, yeah, let's do this. So we got together within a couple of weeks and we planned to have like an annual event where other people would come and join and help fundraise. So it wasn't kind of always on myself to be able to fundraise.
Yeah.
So Ride for Rescue, Capital to Cosi, the event. We had our 10-year anniversary just this last year. So it's opened up to 30 riders. We ride from Canberra to top Mount Kosciuszko. Kind of wanted to put in that whole Kosciuszko, from our original ride that Nat and I did. But at the same time, we wanted to get it off-road because Tim, and we are more mountain bikers than road riders.
More adventure that way.
And so Tim designed a route through the Snowy Mountains, so all off-road.
And then you were raising funds for both your Blossom Project and Restore One?
Yes.
That was happening?
Yes. The idea was people could sign up and fundraise for either or. Some even fundraise for both at times.
Amazing.
So 15 riders for Restore One and 15 for the Edra Blossom Project.
Yeah.
Each year we'd have different numbers, anywhere from about 23 riders to our full 30 riders. And one year we, opened up to 50 riders and we filled all those spots. So
it's more people seeing your vision of fundraising and just wanting to throw themselves into it as well and fundraise. You gave that opportunity, I guess, to others as well to commit to that. Was there, from that project, I think your other son, Matthew, then also got a bit older and realised that he also wanted to do a little bit of something with Mum as well?
Well, it was... For me, I've always very much a mum that, if I do something with one son,
absolutely,
I will do it with all of them. So I put it out there. I said to the other boys, I'm keen to ride the tandem again. If any of you boys are keen, I would do it with you. So Jonathan and Caleb were, no, it's cool, Mum.
Not our calling, thanks.
Yeah, which is fine. And then I was not straight away, but it was, sometime later, a couple of months. I don't remember, to be honest. Matthew came up to me and said, Mum, I actually am keen to ride the tandem with you. He said, but there's only on one condition. I said, what's that? He goes, we have to double the distance.
And of course, he wants to compete. Okay, love it.
The competitive nature of boys. So, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I put sort of the ball back in his court and said, well, this will be your ride. You decide what you'd like to fundraise for. And, and he come back and said, Mum, I think we should ride to Uluru. So from Ballarat, that's where I grew up, to Uluru was
2,000.
About 2,000. It turned out to be about 2,300 kilometres.
Incredible.
And I said, fabulous. And so in 2021, we achieved that goal. And he chose to fundraise for Care Flight because at the time he was thinking he'd maybe like to be a paramedic, work in emergency care. So...
That's where his heart was drawn to fundraise. What incredible lessons you're teaching your boys.
When we were organising this tandem ride up to Uluru, I always looked for sponsors to help with the event costs. And it got to a point where we hadn't had a big sponsor and I was actually out riding my bike at the time and I, just chatting with God and very clearly God said, ask Sonia, her business. Wow. Yes, so Sonia was my chiropractor at the time and I hadn't known her long. I think I'd done maybe 4 or 5 visits. I really forget at the time. So, she was just my chiropractor. And I thought, God, that's crazy. I don't really know Sonia. But he was very clear. He said, just go in. So I had an appointment the very next day. Just say to her, look, hey, just treat me for half the time and then I would like to chat with you about something else afterwards. So I did exactly that and she was, yeah, sure, and she was open to it. And I had my little folder, my little prospectus.
Sponsorship pitch.
And all of that.
Wow.
And as I started sharing and, opened up the folder and talked about what we're doing and that we're going to be riding for Care Flight. And when I mentioned that, she just kind of teared up and I, didn't know what I'd said wrong and she said thank you. She just kind of took the folder off me and, we parted ways and I went to the counter to, which you normally do, pay. And as Sonia came out to collect the next patient, she just looked across at me and she goes, put me down as your number one sponsor. Wow. Well, you could have just, knocked me over. I was just like...
An answer to prayer.
It was a huge answer to prayer. And, clearly, God said for me to speak to Sonia. I didn't really want to, but I thought, okay, God, and in doing that, we got that top sponsor, which enabled us to make that event happen. But obviously, I was keen to know why would she choose
that cause.
And we got together and she shared her story, which was incredible. Me walking in that day was a God moment. So for her, she has 3 sons, but Zach, son number 2, when he was all of maybe even a week old, he got very sick. And he was taken by Care Flight. Wow. And she said at the time, Care Flight was there for her. Financially, she wouldn't have been able to do what they did. Sadly, Zach passed away, so she lost Zach. And that year he was turning 21, and she wanted to do something to honour Zach. Wow. So she wanted to give back to Care Flight because she was able to now. And then she said, she wanted to do something special for his birthday. So we ended up riding for Zach on our jersey. We even had Ride for Zach. So it became more than just fundraising for Care Flight. It was, so then obviously Sonia and my friendship just continued to blossom from there.
Yeah. So you were deciding to see what was next, I think, when we were talking about your story, and you were thinking, what should I do next? And there was a ride that you were going to do with your sister?
Yeah, the next was my sister, one of my sisters, Sophie. She was super keen to come on one of these tandem adventures. And she'd done a couple of our Ride for Rescue events, so she was into riding. So we started talking about the idea of riding around Tasmania. Got to a point where, it was like, okay, we really need to get serious about this. Things changed for Sophie and she wasn't able to commit. So,
which was an incredible opportunity that then opened up for you. Was that right? You had Sonia come back and chat to you.
Yeah, well, that's another
idea.
Another sort of story behind that. Sonia actually came to me one day and asked if I could pray into a couple of things for her. But yet she didn't tell me what I was praying into, which I've never been in that situation before. So
another faith moment.
It was, and so I'm praying into something that I had no idea. But it was 2 things. And so I said to Sonia, look, can you at least tell me if they're connected? I think that's going to help me a bit. They're completely different. I went, okay, maybe that was not going to be easy. So I was kind of playing into, A and B, 1 and 2. But we got together after a few weeks and she said to me, so how's that praying going? Have you got any answers? And I said, well, actually, distinctly, the first thing I'm praying into, I keep getting very clearly a yes.
Okay.
The other one, it's a little bit fuzzy, maybe... Wait.
Not sure.
And then she goes, do you want to know what you've been praying into? I said, absolutely. And so she shared the first one. She goes, actually had you praying, and also another friend, into the idea of me joining you on a tandem ride because seeing your sister can't do it. And I'm just like, what? Because Sonia's not a bike rider.
No, okay. She was drawn to it.
But she was drawn to that whole idea.
Amazing.
Of more the service. She's a woman of incredible heart who just gives and serves. So she wanted to do something to be able to then to give as well. And obviously a bit of a sense of adventure there as well to step out in faith and say, God, should I do this? And clearly it was a yes from me, and her other friend, it was a clear yes.
So then what was the second thing that you were asked to pray into?
Well, then she said to me, she goes, look, Tasmania doesn't interest me. It looks like it's very hilly. She said, however, I grew up in Bustleton, Western Australia. How about we cross the country? And I went, love it.
Oh.
And then very quickly we realised it was going to double the distance again.
Yep.
So
over 4,000
kilometres.
Yeah. So it was just going to be originally a tandem bike ride from Bustleton to Bondi.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Correct.
And then can you tell me how it then turned into two more bike riders on your trip?
So then in 2024, so Anna and Rach, they came to one of my Ride for Rescues in February, and literally it was one day we were just riding together, and she was asking about, do you have anything planned? I said, well, actually, Sonia, because Sonia at the time, she was on the ride as our doctor, part of the support team. I said, yes, Sonia and I, we're planning to ride the tandem across Australia. And instantly Anna just looked at me and says, can we join you? And I went, sure.
Sure.
I'm
They're
kind
also
of
quite adventurous sisters too,
look, I
aren't
saw
they?
fairly quickly
Yeah.
how adventurous these girls were, just, bubbly, effervescent and, keen. So I just said, yeah, sure. Without even
Why not?
knowing these girls, other than I saw how adventurous they were and fit and capable. But I guess in the back of my mind, I never really, because often people say, I'd love to do that, let's join.
Absolutely.
And whether it does happen,
It's another story.
it is another
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So it was a moment. And I said, sure, come and join us without really.
So when did it actually start building momentum? When did you actually realise that this is a real thing that we could potentially be doing and another big ride?
So look, after the ride, the girls did continue to connect and basically said that we are really keen.
Oh.
And then they started to look out for buying their own tandem because we had the original one that Sonia and I were going to use, so they were doing that. And then, as you do, scroll on Facebook or Insta. I was doing some scrolling that day, and obviously things come that are of your interest. And all of a sudden this video came with a quad tandem. It just jumped out at me. I went, that is so cool.
That looks like fun.
That looks like fun. It's time to change up. We've done the
Wow.
tandem twice. I've got 3 other ladies keen to ride with me. Why not? So very quickly I sent that video off to the 3 girls, and within no time each of them sent back, said, cool, I love it, let's do it.
So without any of you riding a quad tandem bike, let alone riding a normal bike, you're riding a quad tandem bike.
Well, it was just the idea. I mean, we had no idea we'd even source a
Wow.
quad tandem.
Yeah.
And very quickly we realised, that you can't get one in Australia.
No.
But I guess I'm driven by something new, unique, and honestly, it's every one of these is with God. The Bible text that way back at the beginning when I met Doralyn, she shared the text that she's, I guess, driven her life on, and that's with God, all things are possible. And I took that on, and, every one of my moments and every one of my rides is only because I chose to journey with God. And I guess I didn't realise just how powerful that word with was until the start of this year when I unpacked that, and I was asked to go down to Melbourne to one of our schools down there, Gilson College, and chat to the staff. And I realised it was that with that was so powerful. And I look back and it's me choosing to have journeyed with God has enabled each of these events. So once again I stepped out and thought, okay, God, if you want this to happen, us to be on this quad tandem, I believe that you will provide. And that's another whole story as to how God did provide that quad tandem.
Yeah.
Ruby is
Ruby.
we named her.
Yes, all the way from Canada.
Yeah, all the way
is that
from
right?
Canada.
Yeah.
She rode in one of the quad tandem, it's a world championship that they do. But the beautiful thing about that world championship, it's for others. They ride quad tandems to fundraise for a charity called Worth Hats, which is for mental health and suicide prevention over in Canada.
Which is ironically what you all decided to raise funds for your ride across Australia. Can you talk to me more about how that maybe came to the front end and why you decided to partner with Gotcha for Life and raise money for mental health awareness?
Yeah. So once again, I felt this was kind of like Sonia's ride, like she initiated it. So I said, Sonia, you choose who you'd like to fundraise for. And she basically said for her, mental health is a space that she's very passionate about. It's a journey that she's walked. And as a practitioner, she has seen a lot of, mental health and more since COVID.
Yeah, of course.
And very passionate to want to ride for that. So she just said, that's what I'd like to do. And so then I started looking at all the charities, doing some research, Googling the top 10 charities. Came, your standard ones, Black Dog, Lifeline, all of those sort of standard ones. And number 10 was Gotcha for Life.
Okay.
And for me, the number 4, I guess, jumped on a bit of numbers.
Yes.
Ride for Rescue. So I opened that one up and I started to look, and as I read, I just really liked what I was reading. They seemed more hands-on. It was about preventative, let's help people before they get to a point of where they're going to end their life. And made a connection with Gotcha for Life. They were quite a young charity. They started in 2017, but what they were achieving so quickly was quite impressive. You know, working in workplaces, to sports clubs, having this mental fit program and teaching people how to be mentally fit. To deal with when the tough times come. So sort of very practical. So approached them. They were a little bit hesitant initially, only because they don't have many people on their team.
Sure.
And how they saw what we wanted to do and loved the idea, but didn't know if they could, be the support we needed. So then we put it off 12 more months. And we kept both Sonia and I continued looking at Gotcha for Life and really felt compelled. So I approached them again and said, okay, we're going to put it out 12 months. Do you think you'd like to partner with us? From that moment, we were, Gotcha for Life.
So you got the bike imported, it all kind of started ramping up. Did you get some more sponsorship as well?
Yeah, so then we were on the hunt for more sponsorship to help make this event happen, because like any of these events, my goal is to try and get it sponsored as much as possible. I mean, I'd had a bit more practice in that than the other girls. Yes. They were a little bit more nervous going out and doing that, but as time went on. So it was obviously we rode last year in 2025.
Yes, absolutely.
So it was the end of 2024 is when November, where we had our little package ready to go out. We didn't even have the bike at the time because we needed to fundraise for the bike in itself. So that was going to be about at least $35,000.
Wow.
So we'd worked out we needed at least $90,000 to make this event happen.
So then you started falling into the logistics of the ride across Australia. Obviously the bike cost, you needed a support team, you needed equipment. How did you come up with your, fundraising amount? What was that?
Yeah, so I guess we just looked at, from obviously the bike was the key, most important thing, to then getting a support team and the vehicles to enable to have a support vehicle behind us and at least one other vehicle, someone could potentially be a cook for us. That was a bit of a luxury. Yeah. We were just going to cook for ourselves or camp, keep it as basic as, depending on what funds we could actually raise. Yeah. So very quickly we got some keen people that were happy to be our support. Fantastic. Which was very exciting too. A cook, so Kelvin and his wife Nerily came on as our support in those first 3 weeks. And then we had other people who were keen to join. Ended up with a whole media team. Wow. My son Nathaniel and Marta here at Avondale jumped on last minute to join that team as well. So people were amazing who wanted to come and help us in that space. Yeah, so we had so many people that were willing. So Gary, he came on as our support driver. He drove behind us that whole 35 days of riding. He was our angel there in the back.
What was that moment then after the long 6 weeks and what you went through? What were some really, you must have experienced some really lows, and what were some highs that you can kind of share?
It was way more than just a ride. I realised the riding was a small part of the actual event, from connecting with the kids to all the people along the journey. One thing we committed to, if anyone was on the side of the road, we would stop always and make that connection. If someone pulled up, intentionally to give us some donation or chat, we would stop no matter what. If we were running behind schedule, we would always schedule that in. And each of those conversations were just God moments, and were just, for me was really the gold of the whole trip. Because everyone, as you said earlier, everyone does have a story.
Absolutely.
And if you're willing to give that person a moment just to share their story, it means so much for that individual. We had people just open up. As soon as we said we were riding for mental health and suicide prevention, it just allowed them the space to share and to share vulnerably. But overall, just an incredible opportunity. I feel really thankful that I had that opportunity to journey across Australia, with those 3 ladies. The most challenging for me. I mean, as the leader of the whole team, because it became, it became quite a team.
Yeah.
Not just the 4 ladies, but I said we had our 3 support vehicles, our media team, cooks. We were up to, and then we had some others come and join at different times, family members. So there was times that we had up to 15, 18. I kind of lost count there when we were around the Wagga. We had a few more extra family members come in and be with us for a few days there.
So along travelling for 6 weeks, you're also stopping and visiting some schools along the way and joining into community events. So not only were you going through your own personal mental health struggle for 6 weeks, you're also being able to connect with others along the way and sharing your journey about mental health and encouraging others. How was that for you?
Yeah, as a primary school teacher, the school visits were an absolute highlight. The kids, in those remote areas particularly, they didn't get to, not every day do they get to see a quad-tandem.
That's right. That's right.
So, them just seeing the bike, us, being able to share with the kids and all the questions that they had. About the bike and about the journey, and then we got into sort of the mental fitness, sharing obviously appropriately in the space if it was the primary kids, mainly primary kids. We had some high school opportunities, and that was also really great because Anna and Rach, they're high school teachers, so they really connected in that space.
Amazing.
As well, a bit more so, but it was just really special to be able to connect. And then I remember one of the schools we went to, the kids that would always go out to the quadrangle and would demonstrate and ride the bike.
With some teachers, I think.
And we popped some teachers on the bike, and of course the students thought that was, fabulous to see their teacher on there. But one of the schools, as we left, and all the kids are lined up around the quadrangle there, we, head off towards the gate, and the kids just all started to run and follow us.
Cute.
And and the teachers just let them,
Yeah.
and they were just chasing after us and high-fiving us. And as we went out the gate, thankfully they stopped there. They didn't run. They knew where to stop.
Yeah. But just that enthusiasm, I think, and the impact that you had on their lives in the remote areas sometime as well, I think would have been, huge for them.
And it was great. And they also did their own fundraisers.
Yeah, wow.
Leading up, waiting for us to come, they did all sorts of things from, funny sock day, all sorts of bike days and different things in preparation. And then for them to be able to hand us the money, whether it was a cheque or some cash, the kids would come up and so you proudly, give the money that they had raised as a result.
So you were indirectly teaching all these young children what it means to pick a passion or pick something and really work hard to achieve.
Yeah.
That they can make a difference as well in their little lives, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. For a lot of people that might be hearing your story today, I think some might even have the inspiration to go out and do something and find a cause that they're particularly passionate about, but may or may not have the courage or the confidence to go and do something. What would you say to encourage someone to maybe go and find their passion and to make a serious impact in their world?
Look, as I said, everyone has something. Like I kind of, for a long time, thought I didn't have anything, and then when I gave my ability to ride a bike to God, I look back and I'm actually blown away myself with what God has done with that. So it doesn't matter what it is that you have. I just say offer that, whatever it is, and God will turn it into something spectacular, providing that you're willing to journey with him. So yeah, look, and it does, just step out, give it a go,
Be brave.
Be brave.
Yeah.
Just take that one step. And before you know it, you're down a journey that's pretty amazing, and it's exciting. Just take that first step.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. One of the things that have drawn me to your story even more is that you've always said that God is willing. If God's willing, you're willing, and you're willing to do. I guess what I want to know is what's your next adventure? Where is it going to be? Where are you going? Do you know where you're going?
There is a next. Once you start these things, your mind is always looking for something. And as I said, if God wants me to, I'm always willing. And we have Ruby there now,
yes,
and super keen to ride Ruby again. So I'm actually looking to ride from Darwin to Melbourne next.
Right.
Yeah, I've gone across, so
now you go
I think it's
down.
time to go fully down. And Matthew and I have done, to Uluru, so I know part of it.
Yes.
So thinking we'll go Darwin via Uluru and down to Melbourne.
And are we going to see the original crew again, or is there going to be a new crew joining
I think there's going to be a new crew.
Yes.
So so looking at May 2028 actually.
Wow.
So I've also approached Operation Life and said I'm going to be looking at doing this ride. If you guys want it as a fundraiser, happy for you to take that on as a fundraiser.
How exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that is very exciting. Thank you again for joining us. It's been incredible to hear your story, and thank you for sharing your story. And we hope that it does inspire someone else as well to do something impactful for their lives. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening.